Good morning, beloveds. Instead of a reading this morning, you're getting sermonette. And the reason you're getting sermonette is I forgot the reading in my office, which I did not realize until about halfway through this most recent song. And I went through some options in my head. I can run into my office through the singers and dig through the bag and find it and rush back out here and be out of breath to say my prayer. Or I can know that I have been pre-forgiven by all of you and by my own being and simply allow ourselves to rest in no reading this morning. And so the sermonette part is, think of this. Next time you made a mistake or did something that perhaps you would have done differently if you could have, and remember that I did it in front of 100 people, and I survived. And not only that, I was loved and appreciated, and so will you be too. And so it is, amen. Sermonette. All right. I am going to move ahead with today's affirmation. I'll read it through once and then I'll invite you to join me. I was created for joy, and I live joyfully, allowing my light to shine effortlessly forth. I walk in happy expectancy of divine good, making merry and honoring that which created me by nurturing a joyful and loving heart. I fill my life with joy. Please stand and join me with conviction. I was created for joy, and I live joyfully, allowing my light to shine effortlessly forth. I walk in happy expectancy of divine good, making merry and honoring that which created me by nurturing a joyful and loving heart. I fill my life with joy, and so it is. Lordy. Yeah. I just thank you for ministering to us in such a beautiful way. And that's just not an experience you're going to get in a lot of New Thought churches. It's not even an experience you're going to get in a lot of churches. So thank you. And he cooks. So thank you. I am deeply moved. And I'm moved not just by the presentation, because certainly that was a moving presentation, yes? Yes. But you know, when there's a presentation like this, there's something behind it too. There's a bunch of stuff behind it. There's a body of consciousness behind it. There is the consciousness of Handel, who picked that particular biblical verse and said, I'm going to set this to music in a way that elicits a feeling and emotion. His emotion went into writing it. And then not only that, Clayton and how many musicians before him found that emotion in themselves so that they could present it in a way that moves us. And it's the collective energy of every time that song has ever been sung that happened in this room today. And it's the collective energy of the notion we have walked in darkness, and yet the light shines upon us. And the light shines from within us, for we are at one with the infinite light. You ever felt like you were walking in darkness? Maybe some of you even as recently as 10 minutes ago. And yet there is a light. And it's the light within, it's the light without, and it's the light all around. It is the divine light that shines forth in us, as us, through us, always, in all ways, and from all people. And in fact, this is a great time of year to be talking about the light because, you know, it's Christmas time. It's the holidays. It's solstice. It's Kwanzaa. It's Hanukkah. All of these are have metaphors of light in them. Yes? And so we prepare. How many of you are getting ready for Christmas right now? Some other holiday. It's a busy holiday season, isn't it? Let's look at that word actually for a second. Do you know the etymology of the word holiday? It's pretty simple. Holy day. Holy day. These are the holy days of our lives as we prepare for what is to come. As we prepare for, in our theme this month, the metaphysics of making merry, we are preparing for the coming of something. We are turning toward, remember we talked last week about Advent. Advent, the word means to turn toward. We are turning toward that which is to come. I don't know about you, sometimes when my good has been on its way, I've turned away from and ran away from. But what we do this time of year is we consciously turn toward preparing for this holy day that we call Christmas, December 21st, which, by the way, December 25th, somebody just decided that was the day. I think it was Julian I, somewhere in the 300s, decided, okay, we're going to call December 25 Christmas. We're going to call that the day that Jesus was born. And I'm like, okay, you can say my birthday is July 9th, and that's all good, but it's really January 12th, you know? But we picked a collective day in which we turn toward the light, in which we turn toward something that is being birthed in us, something that is being born in us. And so let's ride that collective wave this month as we prepare for that thing to make itself known to us. Now, I don't know about you. I have not actually prepared even one Christmas gift yet. How about you? It looks like some of you are doing pretty well. I'm like, it's been a busy time for me these last few months. And you know what? I'm not so prepared. So it's time for me now to kind of kick it in because I love gift giving. Do you? And I want to just say how blessed I feel we are. Just last week we said we need 50 gifts for 2 to 4-year-olds. And have you looked out under the tree out there? There's a ton of gifts out there. You guys went shopping this week and you wrapped some gifts and you brought them here. That's what I need to do this coming week. But that is one of the ways that we prepare externally for what is to come. What else do? Do you cook? We cook, we shop, we clean the house, we bake, we send invitations to things. We prepare for this holiday, and in the same way, we are called to prepare for the internal experience of the advent of something new in us, the coming of something new in us. And we talked last week about, what's coming, what is born on this representative day, December 25th, is a consciousness. We say it was the baby Jesus, but what did he represent? In the Hebrew Bible, they tell us the Messiah is coming. The prophecy was that a Messiah would be born. Messiah is not a name, it's a title. It would be the Christ. Jesus Christ is not a name. Christ is a title. And it is a title for a consciousness. It is a title for a kingdom. They said this Messiah would be the king, the ruler, not a worldly king, but a kingdom of consciousness, a king of consciousness. And he was born and came, I believe, in order to give us something to aspire to be the great example for us. These things and more will you do, he told us during his ministry. These things and more will you do. All we need do is turn to the Father, Mother, God within, and it shall be done by us as well. There's nothing special about him except that he has fully embodied the Christ consciousness. The birth of the Christ, as in the form of human Jesus, is what we are turning toward and what we are preparing for this month. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to embody a little bit of that consciousness. How about it? Let's be about it. I want to be about it, so I'm going to prepare. Shall we go shopping? Let's go shopping. We are going to buy some gifts to celebrate the birth of the Christ consciousness in us. This is the metaphysics of making merry. We're going to go to the mall. Now, I don't know about you. I go over to Bellevue Square. I got theaters. I got stores. I got places to eat. I go to Crossroads. I even got a stage and some music and things going on. But these are, and these are all terrific, and they are ways that we engage with the world in preparing for the holidays, but they are the external preparation. What I want to talk about today is the internal preparation. So let's not go shopping at the mall. Let's go shopping at the Mall of Life. At the Mall of Life, everything, infinite inventory, anything you want is at the Mall of Life. What are you going to buy? Take a deep breath. What will you buy at the Mall of Life? See, here's an interesting thing. When we buy things, there was a year that I really wanted a KitchenAid. That I really thought the KitchenAid was going to make me so happy. And the truth is, I got the KitchenAid. Thank you, Patty. I got the KitchenAid for Christmas that year, and I love the KitchenAid. Don't get me wrong. I love the KitchenAid mixer. I can make bread. I can make cakes. I can make this, that, the other thing. I love my KitchenAid mixer. But you know what I realized after I'd had the KitchenAid for a while and used it a few times? It's not really the KitchenAid, is it? It's the experience that the KitchenAid provides to me. That was really what I wanted. I wanted my baking and cooking to be simpler, more streamlined. And if a KitchenAid could give me that, that's a great gift, right? But is it the KitchenAid itself? Or is it the experience? 2 years ago, I said to Patty, I think I'd like to sew. For Christmas, I'd love to have a sewing machine. And she gave me a sewing machine. I have run that thing, seriously, hours and hours and hours. I have made so many things in the last 2 years. And the sewing machine supports the experience, but it's really the experience that I'm going for, right? Creativity, expression, just even the feel of fabrics in my hands, picking out thread, picking out patterns, picking out colors and putting things together. This is the experience, and the sewing machine facilitates the experience, but it does not contain the experience. Without me, there would be no experience. Without the call of my heart, there would be no experience. Now, what if we at the Mall of Life had a little conversation with the salesperson about experiences? There's an experience of life that I want to have. It's joy, it's grace, it's creativity, it's beauty, it's love. And maybe there's a KitchenAid or a sewing machine that can help facilitate that, but where does the creativity really begin? Right? Because is there really anything else but me? Oh, wait, and the God within? And the infinite universe and the infinite creativity within? And I can be creative making cool cakes and stuff with the KitchenAid, or I can be creative with my sewing machine, or I can be creative in my head walking down the street imagining an amazing world in which everyone is thriving. Those are all creative strategies, right? And it's an experience that I am looking to have. And so what is it that you are feeling like, there's a bit of a hole here. There's something I would like to have that is going to make my life feel more grace-filled, more loving, more joyful. Career? Maybe it's career. Health? Is there something going on with you or with your family in the way of health that you'd like to have a different experience? How about relationships? Anything in your relationships you'd like to have a different experience? You'd like to see something shift? See, this is the list, the shopping list that we want to go to the Life Mall with. I want to have an experience that lifts me out of the human realm of right and wrong, good and bad. Oh, don't like this present, love this present. No. How am I experiencing what's happening around me? Because the fact is, life deals us a hand, right? The universe, the human experience deals us a hand. And we get to play that hand. How will we play it? Wishing that we got some different hand? Wishing for a different set of gifts? Or will we choose to be in this experience with a loving and joyful heart, knowing that the universe is for me and that something wonderful is happening because I shop at the Mall of Life. And at the Mall of Life, yeah, there's all these human things going on, but what if I lift myself above that human experience into a spiritual experience of love? Now, how do we do this? Eric Butterworth, he's one of my favorite spiritual teachers. He said, if there's anything you think you need in your life, you don't really need that. Better job, better health, better partner, whatever it might be. Anything that you think you need in life, you don't really need that. What you need, he says, is more God. What? Wait, I want to go down to the mall and give them my debit card or my credit card and get something that's going to make me feel better about life. But what if you went to the Life Mall and said, I want more God? Because all things are contained in God. All things are contained in God. All experiences, all feelings, all love. God is infinite. It is all there is. And as I prepare for the coming of this Christ consciousness in me, I open my heart to all of that good. No matter what the condition, I am not at the effect of conditions, for I live and move and breathe and have my being in the mind and in the body of God. There is no condition that can harm me, that can bring me down. For there is only one life. That life is God's life, and that life is my life now. See, this is the Christ consciousness. When we can walk in that consciousness, when we get more God, we find ourselves being in the realm of condition with a sense of peace and ease and grace. Yesterday I was at my mom's all day long, and there's a couple things going on there. It was Fudge Day, which is an annual thing we do in my family. We get together and we make fudge all day. And then everybody in the family has candy for the whole holiday season, and we also make almond roca and usually peanut brittle as well. And it's kind of a big day in my family. It's a big annual thing. Well, my mom is preparing to sell her house. She's turning towards something new. And this was our last Fudge Day in my mom's house. What? Are you kidding me? How many amazing family parties have we had in my mom's home? How many Fudge Days? How many years have we gotten together the first or second Saturday in December and done Fudge? And not only was it Fudge Day, it was also Clear Out Mom's 2 Attics Day, because she's getting ready to sell her house. So like all the nieces, all the nephews, we kind of lined them up and made them schlep stuff out of the attics, and we went through stuff, and so it was Memory Day, right? And we didn't go through every single thing because, but it was this, right? We went through a lot of things. And you see, we had an experience. And there's a couple ways we could experience that. We could experience it as hard and difficult and, this is your mom's house, maybe the last Fudge Day. It could be that, right? Or it could be done with a sense of joy and grace, and how blessed we are to have had this beautiful home to have Fudge Day in for all these many, many years. How blessed we are to have these strong arms to schlep boxes down from the attic. How blessed we are to have this family tradition. How blessed we are to be with one another in this way. And in my family, we don't all think the same. Anybody else have that? How blessed we are to be able to be at peace with one another this day, even though we don't all see the world the same way. How blessed we are to love and support my mother in preparing and turning towards something new in her life, selling her home. See, we bought the experience we wanted. We could have sat around and whined. We could have sat around and said how hard it is to go through all this stuff. We could have sat around and talked about how hard it is to schlep all the, seriously, you cannot believe how much stuff was in those attics. And we could have moaned about that, right? But we bought a different experience in the mind of God, an experience of love and grace, an experience of joy and food and sugar. And it was really, really fun because we chose to have it be fun. We went to the mall of life and said, this is the experience we want, even though, there's some stuff associated with it that we could make up a different story about if we wanted, right? So here's what you might want to know. How do I get to this mall? Because that's where I want to shop. And my answer to that question is, honestly, I don't know. But I'll tell you, God knows. Because we are all on our individual spiritual journey with the God of our own being, and yet we're doing it collectively, right? God knows how you get to that mall. Remember last week we talked about Mary, when the angel came to the Virgin Mary and said, something is to be born in you. You will conceive a child. You will conceive a child, and you will give birth to this child. But remember, what we're talking about is not a child. Mary, you will give birth to a consciousness, a kingdom of consciousness, a Christ consciousness. You will give birth to a consciousness. Prepare. Show up. Be willing. Want God more than anything. Want the divine experience more than anything. Be willing to put that first. And what did Mary say? She said, okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm a handmaid. I'll be a servant to this consciousness. Are you willing to be a servant to this Christ consciousness? If you are, God knows the way to the mall of life. Take a deep breath with me. Because now we're going to talk about the money part. How will you pay? How will you pay to purchase these experiences? And I am grateful to tell you that you have an unlimited account at the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind. You, me, all of us. We have an unlimited account at the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind. The question is, will we access it? You know how banks, they have dormant accounts, right? People who haven't used those accounts in years. And have you ever, I remember one time somebody told me, well, I had this account, I just forgot about it. I was like, wow, how could you forget about it? But they did, right? There is such a thing as a dormant account, and most of us, our accounts in the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind are dormant. They're just sitting there. We're not using them. But Thomas Troward told us how we purchase anything in life is with spiritual coin. How we purchase anything in life is with spiritual coin, is with Christ consciousness. We must know the thing in mind before we can experience it in the world. See, I went into this experience yesterday. I could have gone into, oh man, I got to go be with the family that I don't agree with and that doesn't agree with me, and this is going to be a really hard day, and this blah, 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 right? But you know what? I accessed my account with the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind and said, this is going to be fun. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to be with my family, even the ones that I don't agree with so much and don't agree with me so much. And I'm going to have a great time. And we are going to get so much done. Do you see, my spiritual consciousness, my spiritual coin purchased the experience for me before I ever got there? That's how we pay. We pay in spiritual coins. So let me give you an image. You got yourself a little debit card that is your access to your account at the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind. Remember, there is an unlimited amount in that account. And all you must do, tap that card right there if you got a chip. Might have to swipe if you're old school. Just tap that card right there. And an interesting thing happens. When you tap your card on the card reader, what happens? It asks you for something. What does it ask you for? Your PIN. Your personal identification number. what is your PIN to your account at the Universal Bank of the Christ Mind? What will lift you in consciousness so that you can access that account? You know, sometimes I use little words, little four-letter words to remember my PIN. How about you? I'm not going to tell you what four-letter words I use. But think of like WAVE. You could use WAVE, and the numbers that go with that would be your PIN. And I'm going to invite you to entertain the notion that perhaps the PIN at your Universal Bank of the Christ Mind is love, L-O-V-E. And that when that little thing comes up and says, is this really you? Give me your ID. Give me your personal identification number. If you key in L-O-V-E and then be love, I do believe you will have infinite access to that account, and your life will be transformed by your little shopping trip to the mall of life. Are you ready to try it? Let's turn within. Take the sacred breath with me as we surrender in this moment to that power, to that presence, to that love that we call God. And breathing deeply, centering in the awareness of something greater than you are. The Christ consciousness. Prepare in mind right now for an awakening. Make yourself more available than you ever have before to the presence of God as you. Open your heart and mind more fully than you ever believed possible to that power, to that presence, to that love. And with each breath, you realize more and more fully, this is the Christ mind. This is the Christ consciousness. I let this mind be in me that was in Christ Jesus. I allow the birth of something new in me. I allow the birth of this consciousness, this way of thinking, this way of being, this mind, this kingdom within me. And in this awareness, in this consciousness, what do you truly want to experience in life? Not the things. The experience. How does your life feel in the consciousness of God? What are you doing in the consciousness of God? Who are you with? What are you experiencing in this mind? And just begin to imagine into that. Your mind and your heart open to the divine idea for your life. And breathing effortlessly and easily. Just take that experience right off the shelf. Tap that card on the card reader. And key in love, L-O-V-E, and feel that love bubbling up from deep within you and spilling out all over your experience of life. As you activate the Christ mind, the Christ consciousness in you by the power of love, and you find yourself satisfied, fulfilled, awake, willing, alert, ready to turn toward the good that life is, ready to see every circumstance and condition as God sees it. For you now see with the eyes of God. You think with the mind of God. You walk in the very beingness of God. This something greater than you are is lifting and inspiring and guiding you every step of the way, and you are willing. You simply say yes. Embodying love, embodying truth, being all that God would have you be. And so I close this message with a grateful heart, knowing that we have indeed been transformed, that we are lifted, that we are expanded, that we are more fully Christed than we have ever been before. And we simply say yes. And so it is. Amen.